Thank you, Betty. Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to see all your smiling faces and all of your wonderful names. And just your presence is so appreciated this morning. So let's talk here. This month, we are talking about, our theme is Back to Blessed Basics, where we're reviewing the Science of Mind introduction. And it is the book that we teach out of here at Science of Mind. This big old book, you see how thick this is? It's massive. And all of the teachings in this book are really summed up in about that much of it. That's the introduction, and that's what we've been talking about all month. The whole rest of the book, well, it talks about this first little part right here. So we're really getting into the foundational pillars of the science of mind. So we've talked about the thing itself and how it works. And this week, we're talking about what it does, or as the kids say, what it do. So what does it do anyway? What is it doing right now? Well, the short answer is everything. But as it pertains to human beings, it's doing three very specific things. Oh, sorry, I have to start my little clock there. It is doing three very specific things, and I call them the three C's. The first C that it, God, Spirit, our Creator, is doing is it comprehends. Now, the definition of comprehension is to grasp mentally or understand. And that's a very important distinction between just knowing and understanding. I know that the sun will rise tomorrow. I don't necessarily understand everything that's involved with the sun actually rising. I don't know all the information. So I know that it's going to happen, but I don't understand how it's going to happen. It's the same with God. And as we're thinking of the comprehension of God, God knows everything and God understands everything. So God knows and understands itself. It knows what it is, and it knows the totality of what it is. And it knows and understands its creation intimately. If you are a mother and you have 5 children, what is the likelihood that you would completely forget that you had 2 of them? Not very likely. And it's the same principle with God. Each and every creation of God is like a child of God, loved, cherished, nurtured, exalted. Each individual thing. And that means that it knows and understands and loves you. It knows everything that you've been through, every choice and decision you've made and why. It knows the yearning of your heart. It understands how you got to where you are right now. And it's perfectly logical. Most of all, it knows what you believe, what you really believe. And that leads us to the next C, which is it collaborates. Now, the definition of collaboration is to work jointly on an activity, especially to produce or create something. We're not orphans in the universe, set out alone and adrift. We have an eternal collaborator standing at the ready to help us create our lives, to help us produce our good. And the first thing you need to know in any collaboration is communication. How do we communicate with our collaborator? Well, we directly communicate with spirit in a lot of different ways, but the most effective way that we communicate with spirit is through our beliefs. For example, if you have two people and you have opposing beliefs from those two people, one person believes that the world is awful and the other person believes that the world is wonderful. Whose belief is manifested? Who's right? Who gets God's full support and who doesn't? Well, that leads me to the next and final C, and that is it caters. The definition of cater is to supply what is required or desired. And that's what God does. And you may be thinking that, wait a minute, the almighty creator of all things is a servant? That doesn't make sense. Who am I to be served by it? And that's a very good question. Who are you? Why, you're a blessed child of God. Remember? Loved, cherished, nurtured, exalted. Part of the problem is how we view servants in our culture. It's thought of as a lowly role, unappreciated role. And our culture influences us. It urges us to rise out of just being a servant to being the one being served. Nobody wants to be the servant. Everybody wants to be served. And that's the great thing about love, is that it makes servants of us all. When you love something, it is your great pleasure to see it flourish and grow and be joyous and happy and healthy. And we have no problem serving those that we love to that end. It's our pleasure. We serve them, they are happy, and we are happy from being a servant. Of all lovers everywhere, God is loving the most. God is loving the most. God's love is the most pure. And therefore, God is serving the most. Going back to our question of conflicting beliefs and where we're trying to figure out who God will support, the answer is both. Both people are beloved creations. This is where God's calculation ends. When we are thinking of who we're going to support, who we're going to believe, who we're going to love, who we're going to put our energy towards, there's a lot of factors involved. There's a lot of things to consider. Who that person is, what it is they believe, what they're doing, what their actions are, what their past is, what their intentions are. We're thinking about all this stuff when we're thinking about who to support, who to believe, who to what. But God doesn't have to make these calculations. The only thing God does is love. The only calculation God is making is, oh, you exist. You're in. So the answer is God is supporting all beliefs. God is manifesting for all beliefs, regardless of what those beliefs are. So the person that feels that the world is awful, God says, okay, I'll show you awful. And the person that believes that will see proof of all of the awfulness of the world. And that person will say, hey, I'm right. The world is awful. I can see all this awfulness right now. And then you go to the person that says that life that the world is beautiful and wonderful and magical. And so God says, you got it. And they see beauty and magic and wonder unfolding before their eyes. As we believe, so it is unto us. And that is how we connect with Spirit. That is how we connect with our Creator. So, what do we do about changing our beliefs? What do we do about refining how we speak to God? Well, tune in next week, because Mitch will be talking about how to use it. And I'm sure he's going to be talking about our beliefs. But for now, let's dive into a little bit of pre-homework. And I'm going to spend a little bit more time on homework this week, because we might find this to be difficult. But I'm going to challenge you, because you're here and you are curious about the truth. You're curious about what God is capable of. And to know what God is capable of, we have to get used to seeing and experiencing God everywhere. God is very easy to see and identify when things are going well. When we win the game, when we hit the home run, when we get the promotion, when the child is born. We have no problem noticing, recognizing, and thanking God for the manifestation the manifestation that it is presenting us with. And we're thankful, because we recognize good as good. But here's the thing. God is also in the loss. God is also fully present in the strikeout. God is present in the death. God is present in the dysfunction, in our seeming dysfunction. God is present at all times, manifesting at all times. And it is our job, first and foremost, to recognize the presence of God everywhere, in everything, not only what we consider to be good and blessed, but also what we consider to be bad. God is there. And everything that you see is powered by God. Any event that you consider to be good or bad is using the power of God, and is the power of belief that is bringing that forth. And the good news about this is that if belief created the situation, then belief can change the situation. And that is the real truth, is that all of these situations can be changed by our beliefs and our actions, by a God that indulges us. We are indulged by God. God caters to us to such a degree that anything we believe will be manifest. I shared the story with you a while ago, but one that is that comes to mind often is when Heather and I were out at a restaurant, and I'm old school. I believe when you take children to a restaurant, they should sit and be polite and not run around, not run up and down the halls. You know, when you're at a restaurant, you sit down and you eat, and you act like a civilized person. That's just me. I'm old school. But what we have witnessed at Black Angus, no less. I love Black Angus. But what we witnessed a couple of booths over in this quiet, nice, dark atmosphere, children running amok, standing on their seats, sitting on the table, looking around the corner into other people's booths. Ah! The old school parent in me, my parents are ringing in my ears, wanting to snatch these children up and to talk to them and try to convince them to sit down and be quiet. But that wasn't happening. The parents were there, they were sitting, they were eating, they were enjoying their meal. They're actually delighting in what the kids are doing. You know, one of the kids threw something at the other kid. I think it was a bun or something, and they laughed. Ah, what are you doing? Your children are running amok. Why aren't you doing anything? You're not even not doing anything. You're promoting it. And then it dawned on me that God treats us the same way. We are indulged by God. We are the children of God, but we're also the spoiled children of God. We get everything we believe. And God continues to love us and encourage us and give us more and more and more. I calculated our collective age one day. It's a very scientific matter. I sat down, I crunched the numbers I got with a computer, and I figured out that the collective age of humanity is about 5. We can communicate with each other, we can play with toys, we can build things, but we're not really good at sharing. We're not good at giving. We're not good at collectively raising each other up. These are things that adults do. These are things that mature individuals do. And we're still working it out. We're still working out how to resolve our conflicts in an adult manner without violence. We're still learning how to do these things on a human level, on a mass level. And until we do, we're running amok. We've got wars, we've got crime, we've got all of these beliefs that go in a million different directions, and God is fulfilling and manifesting for all of them. And as we grow and mature, we start to learn and get comfortable with the fact that our supply from God is never ending. Never ending. And whatever we believe God will supply, so we start to refine our beliefs. We start to decide what we're going to believe. We look at our beliefs and we know that whatever we're seeing in front of us is a manifestation of that. So we can turn inward and think about what it is we believe and why we believe it. And do we have to believe it? So even though we are God's spoiled brats, there's hope for us to mature. There's hope for us to grow. With each passing day, we can refine our beliefs. We can calm ourselves down. We can sit at the table and have a regular conversation and be civilized with each other. And we can do all of these things through God. So for your homework, take a situation that you feel is wrong. And it won't be difficult to find. We can find a lot of wrong in the world today. And it can be something that you can say unequivocally, that's a bad thing. Okay? Find that thing in your mind. Picture it in your mind. It could be something big or it could be relatively small. The size of the problem doesn't matter. And once you have that idea of that problem in your mind, look at it and see the truth of God's presence within it. Look at that problem and see the truth of God's collaboration in it. Not because God is bad, because God gives. And that's all God does. God writes a blank check and says, here, I don't know what you're going to do with it. You do whatever. But here it is. Here's the power. Go and use it. And then it's up to us to use it. So God is in and has signed off on every situation that exists today, whether we think it's good or bad. God is fully 100% present in all of it. And it's easy to take the good things and see God and take the bad things and say, oh. But take those bad things and also see God. And get to know an infinite presence and what infinity really means is unending, everywhere, all at once. And get used to knowing that we can change anything. We can change any situation. Every problem in the world today has been brought about by choice and can be changed by choice through our conscious collaboration with God, our divine caterer. So let's take that into prayer. And it is here now that we declare and we know and we proclaim and we revel in the fact that there is one God, one existence, one force, one creator, one source of our good. And we also proclaim our connection to it. This God is everything, all the light, all the joy, all the peace, all the good. God is. And as God is everything and of everything, we can also say without a shadow of a doubt that God is alive in us. We are made of blessed parts, and that blessing continues through us. And the proof of that blessing we know is our constant communication with God. We believe God manifests. That's how it works. And we can use this blessed framework. We do use this blessed framework to construct our lives of good, to inform us, to educate us, to enlighten us, to bring us joy. And I know that I am so thankful to sit here and proclaim it, to sit here amongst you and know that the truth for me is the truth for you and the truth for everyone on this planet. I know that it's the truth for every living being in the universe. God is ever present. And the goodness of God is revealed in God's responsiveness to us. The love of God is revealed in the manifestation. All manifestation is a result of God's love and care and support. And I release these words without a care into the mind of the universe. I release these words as my beliefs, as representatives of my beliefs. And as such, I expect to see them fully manifest right before me, instantly, immediately. Because that's my birthright. That's my birthright. As a beloved child of God, it is my right to believe. And as it is my right, it is your right. Equally, we share in the splendor of God. And so let us all release these words and expect the good that results with the words. And so it is. Thank you.